So we'll just, start our recording. I will say before I finally figured out that I have 12 teams going in the semifinals. So I had some lean last week there, the first
Oof.
round. Yeah,
Yeah.
Purdy, with 6 points didn't help. And then I set Devona Smith in a couple. And I think in both those I had Purdy.
Oh,
So it
wow.
was like a, 30, 40 point shift there. And I still had a shot, but I lost about three or four uh, games just because of that. It happens. And but I got 12 going.
That's not
Uh,
bad. That's
yeah,
not bad.
12
It
out of 40. Yeah,
gives you a chance to make some money.
yeah. I so if 40 at 35 a pop is 1,400 bucks, and so I need roughly somewhere between 4 and 5 championships out of the 12. So I need to hit, anything above five or above. I'm going to be cashing, and 6, 7, 8 is gravy. Anything above 8, I would just be amazed, and
Yeah.
I'll be in the chips. But trying to hit for 6, make a little money, and but that's where we're at. Not counting the dynasty or the draft out. Right? Do we get any money for that if we were to win?
We just get a prize for that one.
What's the
We don't win
prize?
we get a championship ring. And
Yeah,
then if we are the champion of all the champions,
I
so on
got that.
championship weekend, whoever's team scores the most points among all the championship teams, they they win a championship belt from Trophy Smack. So
Wow.
yeah.
So, well, what I thought, Dennis, we might do. So, how much do those rings cost? Here's what I'm trying to do. We were in the Randy Moss division, and I think if
Correct.
we win, we should probably donate a little something to the Cancer Society in honor of Randy Moss.
I
What do you
like
think?
that idea. I
What do you
love that
think?
idea.
Just,
I
just,
love that idea.
yeah, just to honor the man whose name was in our division,
Yeah, I
right?
love that idea. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that
So
idea
I think you
because,
can
yeah,
donate online, Dennis, to American Cancer.
perfect.
So I figured, I don't know, whatever the ring, $50 a piece, we could
Yeah,
just make a little
that's
personal
a
donation just
yeah,
in
that's
Randy's memory,
yeah,
just to
in
his
his honor.
fight.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean,
I like that. I like
yeah,
that idea a lot.
yeah. So I thought that would be something, to talk about again, but we wish him well, and as a biologist and taught cancer biology and whatnot,
Absolutely.
I know it's a real insidious thing when your
That's a
body.
rough that's a
Yeah,
rough one
well,
too that he's got.
it's just your body's cells are basically not listening anymore. They're doing
Yeah.
their own thing.
Mhm.
It's like they're stem cells again.
And
If
he's
if
too
I had
damn
to
young, man.
describe it, and they are not receiving the correct signals. They don't stay where they're supposed to. They're
Mm.
doing things they're not shouldn't be doing. It's just completely off the rails here, and it's there's. I think the more we study cancer, realize that it's not one size fits all. There'll
No,
never
no.
be a universal cure for cancer. There will be various things that will help, and we will keep discovering those things, uh, as we go along. And it's some of it's genetics. There's environment, there's
Yeah.
chemicals, there's genetics, right? There's just old age, Dennis. Just if we live to 80 or 90, you know, your cells divide and mistakes happen, and it's kind of like if you spin the wheel, roulette wheel, you're going to hit double zeros sometimes, and that's kind
Yeah.
of the longer we live, the more chance we are to get a mistake. And once the mistakes
Yeah.
happen, then the body should clear them up. But then if the body fails to clear them, then they move to the next step and the next step. Like colon cancer, 10 genetic changes for full blown colon
Wow.
cancer. So
Wow.
your body, those colon cells have to change 10 different mutations to happen.
Hmm.
So that's why screening for colon cancer, if they can catch it early, but other cancers, just one change.
Oh,
So
wow. I didn't
that's,
know that.
yeah, it can be, you know, one or two. It doesn't take a lot. Some takes a
Hmm.
lot. So it's just weird depending on the origin. Things like the pancreas are just so tough versus
Yeah.
other cancers are more localized, but liver, pancreas, those kind of things are really tough to deal with. So
Yeah.
anyway,
That's a great idea, actually. I like that idea.
so
I have tried over the years to commit about 10% of my winnings to good causes.
yeah,
You know, if a cause pops up, I'm like,
yeah,
I, I, I can afford that. I can
right.
afford that.
Well,
I can, yeah.
yeah, my wife was on the board of Habitat for Humanity here in our
Oh,
county. So
one of my favorite charities,
yeah,
actually.
so we have gone to their art thing and bid,
Yeah.
and artists donate, and you bid, and all that money goes directly to Habitat and whatnot. And we have the Goodwill.
Yep.
We donate a lot of clothes and a lot of things, and uh, a lot of dog toys, and whatnot. So over the years and whatnot. So those are the ones we usually. And then I've supported the Jockeys Fund, disabled
Yep.
jockey.
Yep. Another
Oakland,
great,
a lot
great
of times
cause.
would
Yep.
have events to raise money, and I've, put in money for raffles
Yeah.
for, like signed pieces of art, well, posters for, Arkansas Derby winners, and
Hmm.
everybody would sign, and take a chance, you might win it, but if not, it goes to a good cause. And so those things I've been able to contribute over the years. And but I think for being in the Randy Moss division this year in the draft night
Yeah.
out,
That's,
you and I
yeah.
should, regardless of what happens, we're in the playoffs. We, honoring his legacy, and I'm not going to tell anybody else, let them decide what they want to do. But just for you and I thought that's what we ought to do.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That's a player. First of all, he's way too young
Oh,
to be getting that serious of a cancer. And
yep.
I had a good friend of mine who was actually a radiologist by trade, and he followed a lot of my NASCAR stuff back in the day. He's from West Virginia. He went to Marshall,
Ah,
and he told me about Randy Moss when I think Randy Moss was his first year at Marshall after he had had problems and got kicked out of some wherever he went as a freshman and ended up at Marshall. I watched some of the games.
yeah,
I never saw a wide receiver that great, and that equates back like prior to Randy Moss, the greatest one that I ever saw was Jerry Rice,
yeah,
and Randy Moss made me think that maybe Jerry Rice was second place on all time greats, and That was when he was at Marshall. And then when he came into the pros, it was just like some of the catches this guy is making.
Yeah.
And to have the speed and size and great hands that he had, but be able to cut so sharp on
Yeah.
his routes that I've never seen. Randy Moss and Jerry Rice are 1-2 in whatever order you want to put them in. They're very different wide receivers, but they are the greatest wide receivers, and I had actually thought that Lynn Swann was the greatest that I ever saw prior to Jerry Rice. And then Jerry Rice was like, no, he's so much better than Swann. But Swann never got to put up the gaudy stats because they didn't pass that much when he was playing. But yeah, Randy Moss he is the man, and I have enjoyed watching him in the media. Like
Yeah.
when he's done his NFL stuff, he hasn't tried to be polished. He's just been himself. He's very outspoken. But when he talks about the game of football, you got to pay attention. It's when
Yeah.
he's impressed with a catch that somebody makes, that's a sign to me that I should take a second look at that catch if Randy Moss is highlighting it. But man, I was sad to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll
All right.
do that, and
Yeah, I love that idea.
yeah,
Love it. Love it.
good
Love it.
for Christmas, and
Good karma too,
I tell
man. Good.
you, as a biologist, people wonder, and I explained a little bit about the complexity, and it's probably other than some type of brain issues, cancer is probably the most complex thing. I mean, it's not like a bacteria or the virus. Okay, here it is. Get rid
Yeah.
of it. You're
Yeah.
probably okay. Cancer's not that way. It's like you said, your body's turning on to itself, and yeah. So the complexity. So, needless to say, brain cancer is the ultimate
Oh God.
there.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I yeah,
yeah,
I've had a problem with cancer watching my favorite aunt die in the late 60s when I was a little kid.
yeah. They didn't have a lot
It's they
they could
didn't
do
it
back then.
was
Yeah,
like they were trying to operate on you with a
yeah.
chainsaw back then. They had no
Dennis, they
clue.
just it's it. People say the good old days. Well, I understand maybe cultural, maybe
Yeah.
or something, but the old days weren't the good old days as far as medicine. We are
No,
in the
no.
good old days and
Oh yeah.
whatnot, and just talking to my grandmother, how many siblings she had that didn't make it. They were
Yeah.
just, back in the turn of the last century. And,
Oof.
it was just crazy. That's, people had to have a lot of children because a lot of them didn't make it through childhood.
Didn't make it past 6 years old. It was like the
Yeah. I
magic
mean,
the magic age,
yeah. I mean, it's crazy business. Anyway, we're going to go on to something more cheery, trying to predict this crazy game. And I guess we're ready to start show. I have something else to bring up, but I'll bring that
Ooh,
up on the
love it.
show.
Love it, love it.
Yeah. Well, no,
All
I
right.
think you'll fall right in unless I'll give you a hint. Fantasy receipts. I've been I've been monitoring your discussion, so I thought we should break that up a little bit just
I
for
love it.
funsy.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. All right, here we go. How you doing, everybody? Welcome to the science of fantasy football. This is Dennis Michelson. Why the science of fantasy football? Well, it's very simple, folks. When you break down the data for a game like fantasy football that is so driven by statistics, if you use the scientific method, if you let the statistics guide you to an answer, you are going to be a smarter fantasy football player. And hey, don't take it from me, take it from my sidekick, because you get two scientists together, meteorologists and a biologist. We are definitely going to teach you the right way to use the scientific method to be smarter. And joining me as he does each and every week, twice a week during the regular season, he is the fantasy professor. He's a real professor. Dr. John Bush, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, last week I did get some side kicks and back kicks and head kicks. I lost a few leagues there. Brock Purdy didn't do me some good, and I sat Devona Smith. You and I debated that
Oh,
and chewed our legs off trying to figure that one out, and we just I ended up making some wrong decisions, made some right decisions. Obviously, I'm in 12 semifinals, but I'm greedy, Dennis. I wanted all of them, right? I had 21 chances, and like I said, I lost 9, and it was tough. Like I said, a lot of them were, I was sixth and fifth place, and you got to wonder, when you're, fifth or sixth, yeah, there's there's a piece probably missing in the team. I look at
yes.
my ones and my twos, and I'm just like, wow, this is such a team. And then I look at my six and fives. I'm like, wow, I did pretty good with what I had. And, so you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. The tougher ones are like the threes and the fours, Dennis, because there sometimes it's the streakiness. Some of
Oh,
your
yeah.
players were like a Debo had streaks, right? And now you don't have them anymore. Like Jerry Judy has been streaky, but now with a quarterback, a lot of stuff on the radio today. They were really discussing, uh, you know, his falling in their rankings. So we've got a lot to figure out this week, just in time. But the good news is you only got 4 teams left out of 12 if you're like me, and you're playing one of those 3, and you're hoping that they have a bad week and your week's just a little bit better.
Yeah, here's the difference between redraft, which I do play a lot of redraft, but I play more dynasty now than
Yeah.
redraft. In dynasty, my fantasy diaries told me that I have won as many championships from the 6th, or even in some leagues they'll go 7 and 8 deep.
Mm-hmm.
I've won as many from having the last seed to
Mm-hmm.
make it into the playoffs that I have from the first seed or second seed in the playoffs. So in dynasty, it's a whole lot different. In redraft, my records show that if I am top 3 in the regular season, if I'm top 3, I got a higher percentage of winning than if I'm 4th, 5th, 6th. So yes, you're gonna have to get streaky in the playoffs. You're gonna have to have things break the right way. I'm having a pretty good fantasy season because I got lucky again on Monday night. I'm saying lucky because here it is. It's junk time touchdowns that are the lucky part of
Mm-hmm.
fantasy football. And I made my own luck by having the right guy in the lineup, Keenan Allen.
Yep.
And I even played Keenan Allen because I thought, man, this is a game where it's likely to be Minnesota's got a big lead. So they're going
Mm-hmm.
to be able to play soft defense at the end. I figured there'd be a chance at junk time points, but a touchdown because you blocked a punt in a game that is lopsided and over.
Yep.
And you block a punt of all things, and that gives you a short field, and you go in and Keenan Allen scored. That touchdown was the difference of 3 teams winning instead of losing,
Wow.
and all within 5 points.
Yeah, the Keenan Allen in where I had him, I actually had Swift. And so I set, because of the game script, I said, if Swift scores, he'll have to score earlier versus later, because I thought the game would be getting out of hand unless he could catch passes. So I really thought that Keenan Allen had an opportunity to really come on later. And so so that was a good call on my part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, Devonta Smith was a bad call, but things balance out. But I did sit Swift and picked up Allen. Purdy with the weather, Dennis, and of
Oh,
course, and this is something I thought we could discuss. I heard on the radio today that when they were breaking down his stats, they decided that if you had any precipitation, that was in one bucket and no precipitation in the other. Brock Purdy had 0 touchdowns anytime it rained, regardless of the wind.
yeah. And that,
So that's probably something we should teach, because I don't know if that's real. As you know, there is a methodology, a statistical methodology that I follow when I look at things like, variables like this and age and things you and I have discussed over the years. And hearing that, it's like, okay, I could compare those two, not even worry about wind. Or you could put, I mean, if you had enough data, you would do rain, no wind, rain, wind, then, no wind, no rain, and then no rain and wind. You'd have 4 buckets, but, the sample sizes wouldn't probably be good for a person, maybe more at the team level than at quarterback level. But we
y-
could do that study. I just don't know if it's individual, or is there a tendency for all quarterbacks? That's how I'd have to do it first. Get enough data, Dennis, for just all quarterbacks, rain, no rain. Not
eh,
even throw out the wind. And then you could do wind, no wind. And then if
yes.
there's enough data, you could try to break it, further.
Yeah. And the problem is the breakdowns get so narrow that
Yeah,
you're not going
I
to
know.
be able to make it statistically significant.
Nope.
Okay. And here's the thing that we understand. And again, it goes back to the horse racing mentality. There are horses for courses. So, in other
Yes.
words, that's the home away split thing.
Yes.
And there are mutters who their mutters are great mutters, and they're going to be a great mutter. And then there are horses that the least bit of precipitation, the least bit of wetness on the track, and they refuse to run at full speed. And it's hard to tell. We had a harness horse that did not like to have the limestone. If they put heavier limestone base on some of the tracks,
Mm-hmm.
because that does better in the winter for harness racing as far as when you have to scrape snow off the track. So if you have more limestone in the mix, the horse didn't like being kicked back with limestone. So when he ran on a limestone track, they had to pretty much put a hood on the thing with, with goggles and the whole 9 yards, because if that limestone touched his face or got in his nostrils, so he had to have a breathing mask that filtered the stuff out. I mean, it was the horse was neurotic. But the point is, we learned from trial and error what he didn't like. And but on that track, if it rained, then the limestone didn't kick up as bad because the limestone just kicked up worse when it was really dry.
Right.
So the horse didn't react bad. But in this case, with Purdy, it was pretty obvious. And the type of rain matters, and also the temperature matters quite a bit. And in that case, it was a cold rain for San Francisco. It was in the 50s. And once you start getting in the 50s and wet, it's different than 60s and 70s and wet. You get into the 40s and upper 30s and wet, it's even worse. And then you add wind and all these other components. And the wind was a factor for Purdy the other night, because while it wasn't strong, it was a directional shifting wind. So there were 20 to 30 degree shifts in the direction of the wind at any given time. It was not a steady wind from one direction. It was flopping back and forth. And that's the worst for a quarterback. So you combine all those things, and I should have realized, but I was a little busy Thursday coming back from Indianapolis after my seminar, and I blew the weather forecast. I did not pay close enough attention to what was going on. Upper Bay was fine. San Francisco was just fine. Southern Bay is where they play, and that's where the rain was. So blew that one. But here's the thing, Professor. We got a gift in our FPPC Dynasty League, because I benched Devonta Smith, and that's on me. And what did I talk?
I did it too.
Well, you did it too, but I'm wondering if I talked you into it. But here's the thing, Professor. What did I talk about last Saturday? Follow your process.
Don't get cute.
Don't get cute. Follow your process. So you know where he ranks in my consensus ratings right now?
No.
He's 17. Higgins is 18. Okay. Our other wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb is 4th. Kupp is 7th. Okay. We got 0 from Kupp. I don't care, because that was the right process putting him in the game. Yeah. I'll continue to say that. I don't care what the weather is like. It was the right process to put him in the game. He's number 7. You got to put him in. But Smith and Higgins are 17th and 18th. Yes, our team is loaded. I put Waddle in the lineup. He's 33rd. That was a horrible, horrible decision. We got lucky. I won't make that mistake again. Devonta Smith's MVP index, what did I say? 80 and higher for this year and the larger sample. He's in your lineup no matter what. 81.8 for the big sample, 81.8 for this season. He is a top 20 wide receiver by any measure in weekly value. He's in your lineup every single day, unless he's hurt. Like the other time that I benched him earlier in the season, he was questionable, listed questionable all week. If you bench a questionable player who is active on game day and he goes off, that was at least following a process. We have so many great wide receivers. We have 5 great wide receivers on our team, because I'll put Waddle as usually a great wide receiver because he has been in the past. This year, he's not. And there was no reason to go away from CeeDee Lamb, Kupp, Devonta Smith, and Higgins. I don't care what defense they're playing. They are so far ahead. That's 15 spots ahead in consensus rankings. If I'm going to do these consensus rankings, if I'm going to believe in these consensus ratings, by golly, I better follow the consensus ratings. So if those 4 are healthy, they will be in our starting lineup each and every week the rest of the season. I know Goff is going outside to play Chicago this week.
People are already pulling their hair out on the radio about that.
So Goff is number 6, okay, in my rankings. Our other quarterbacks right now, CJ Stroud 25th, Anthony Richardson 22nd.
You got to play golf.
Got to play golf. You got to play golf. I know he's not going to get us 40 points. Okay. I know he's not going to blow up for that. If he does, I'll be very shocked. In fantasy receipts, you can come and retweet this show all you want. But I don't believe he'll be over 40, but he'll be in the starting lineup because the difference between his rating and everybody else that we have available is too large. You got to play the guy who's got the rating. Like, if you're going to believe in something, and I believe in this consensus rating, it is proven to me to be right more often than it's wrong by a huge percent.
Yeah.
You got to go with it. And this week in our draft night out lineup, okay? So our decision is Baker Mayfield or Jordan Love. They're QB9 and QB10.
That's tough. We're going to have to look at the DAPs
They're
and
way too
chew on
close.
that. Yeah, they're going to have to chew on that.
And I think Mayfield's got the easier defensive match than Jordan Love. And I
Yep.
believe in the game script for Mayfield as well, because I think they'll have to pass. I think they'll be in an offensive game. So, but that's, if you follow your process, be consistent. Don't change at the last minute like I did and bail on Devontae Smith last week. I'm not going to do it again. We got lucky. We got bailed out by the huge golf game, and we won by our matchup by about 6 points because
our defense helped.
Our defense helped. Our kicker was okay.
Yeah.
We had Hawkinson going against Komet, and we needed to outscore him by 1.5 points, and we outscored him by about 7.
Yeah.
In tight end premium. So we got lucky. We got through. I did pretty well this year. I'm controlling about 60 teams with set lineups this year between dynasty and redraft in my home league.
Yeah.
28
nice
into the final 4.
That's
very
nice.
happy with that number.
Yeah. Dynasty, I don't see, to me, in FFPC, if I can get anywhere close to that number that's just a spectacular. I don't know, with Dynasty, the way you're able to do it, you know, I'm not surprised. You work miracles sometimes. You've kept us in the hunt this year as well, and I think we have a shot at finishing in the money again. Obviously want to win, but I'll take finishing in the money again.
Yeah, and here's the game is, I love winning championships, okay? Because you max out on winning money.
Yeah.
But it's a numbers game to me.
Yep.
So if I got 28 of 60 in the final 4.
Yeah.
So if I get 14 that go into the title game next week.
Yep.
Okay. The other 14 are playing for third place money.
Yeah.
In a couple of leagues, I already won some money. I won my payment by being the top point getter for the year.
Nice.
So I've already cashed a few. But the key is I play to win money. Okay. I don't, last year was funny because of the championships I won. And here's the thing. Most of those teams, there's some money involved. Some are free leagues. I don't differentiate how I manage a free league versus a paid league. I don't differentiate how I manage a $10 fun league with $100 serious league. I manage them all the same. I don't worry about those things. And my percentages will be about the same. I won't pick up a really bad orphan team for $100, but I will pick up bad orphan teams for $10 and to play around with them, see if I can rebuild them. One of my teams, Professor, I picked up 2 years ago. And it's called a multi-flex league. So you have one quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
All the rest of your starters can be wide receiver, running back, or tight end.
Nice.
There's no tight end premium scoring, so there's no real need to have a tight end on your roster, unless he's super good. But I picked that team up, and I want to say the first year, like the year before I picked them up, they were 2-12, and picked them up. In the draft that year, I got Jalen Hurts in the second round of the rookie draft. It's only a one quarterback league, but I paid up, and it was my second round pick. So it was later on in the second round. I made a lot of deals that year, and I got to 5 wins my first year managing the team. Last year, I was pretty close to just 500, but all of a sudden had a couple of injuries and realized that I was not going to do well. So instead of finishing middle of the pack, I traded away a bunch of guys for picks and future picks, and for a few long shot players as well that nobody had faith in, and ended up not winning a game the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And I finished dead last. This year, third place. And I've got 3 first round picks in the upcoming draft, and I got 2 more in 26.
Nice.
So this is a team that I went from it was dead last. I managed it up to about 9th, just missed the playoffs. And then, because 8 go. And then last year did not go well. And the only guy I basically held on to was Jalen Hurts. Like anybody else was on the trading block. And just built, every trade was a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1. And I don't care if that meant 2026 second round pick. I didn't care. I was getting 3 potential pieces for every 1 piece I traded. And if I could pick up an extra 3rd or 4th round pick, I did that as well. And, last year, I didn't like anything at the end of the first round. So I traded my first round pick, which was late first round, my second first round pick that I had last year. I traded that for another first round pick this year and 2 more second round picks in, one this year and one in 26. So all of a sudden I moved 1 draft pick and I got 3 more picks for it.
Yep.
So you don't trade 1-for-1 in Dynasty unless you're filling a hole with a contender. Otherwise, I want 2 or 3 pieces. Right now, I'm mulling over a trade. I've got a team that, because of injuries, they finished just out of the playoffs this year, but they were 6th in points.
Yeah.
So they had potential, even though I lost Ayuk early and a couple other players have been on IR most of the season. I think Godwin and Ayuk in that league. And I'm looking at making a deal of trading. I was trying to trade Derrick Henry away for a pick and a player. And now I've got an offer for Bucky Irving. I trade Bucky Irving. I get Diggs, Goddard, and a first round pick. I'm not sure.
Is it tight end premium?
No tight end premium. Okay. But I don't have a great tight end now. So this would be an upgraded tight end, but it's like, is it an upgrade? He's going to be 30 next year. Diggs is going to be 32.
I'm not
trade a 24-year-old.
Dennis, I'm not just hold the phone. I got to do this deal. I'm not turning it down, but I'm thinking I'd mull this one.
Yeah,
it's not as straightforward as some trades I've seen.
I left it up, and it's funny how people react in trades sometimes in Dynasty. Mm-hmm. So I had a guy in another league where I'm out of the playoffs, just got eliminated in the first round.
Yeah,
and the guy was asking for Nico Collins in trade from me.
Yeah,
after it looked like I was going to miss. I got just hammered on Thursday night. And he's like trying to trade for Nico Collins. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. But I want Picks and Jalen Coker back. Well, he hesitated and he didn't close the deal. Jalen Coker went out and had a big game.
Yeah.
He declined the trade right away.
Yeah.
So, and I'm okay with that because I like Nico Collins a lot. So,
Yeah.
the thing is, you never trade away a younger player unless you're getting multiple pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And even older players, I try to get two pieces, even if it's a second and a third round or a second and a fourth round pick. Give me more chips to play.
Right.
Because I'm pretty good at, like my early first round picks always hit. They within the first 2 years they are going to be starters for me in fantasy football. Later first round pick, I'm hitting at about a 90% rate.
Yeah.
That they'll be a starting level player, meaning RB2, RB or WR2 or better at those positions, tight end, starting quarterback. 90% I hit on my later first round picks. Second round, probably about 70%. Third round, maybe 40%. And fourth round is about equal to third round, which is interesting. So it's just a matter of a numbers game after that with Dynasty. You want as many draft picks as you can get because you can trade those picks for players or you can use those picks for rookie players. And it all depends. I have teams where I deal away my picks. I have teams where I'm holding on and making my picks. And I never panic if a guy has a bad rookie season. I had some shares of JSN, had people wanting to take him off my hands for a second, or I had even an offer for a third round pick. And I saw people moving JSN for second or even third round picks. It made no sense to me. You paid a first round pick to get this guy. Hold him for 2 years.
And I was going to say, I did some research on that, and I looked at hot players coming out year one and looked how they did 2, 3 years out. And I looked at players that didn't do well year one, but did well year two and looked out. And let's just say the the uh, the ones that didn't do well year one but did good well year two were as valuable or could be as valuable as straight out of the gate. So your feeling about 2 years was backed up by that study. It turned out though, if they did bad year one, good year two, bad year three, they tended to be like mediocre. In other words,
Yeah.
at some point there's something telling you, hey, this is the trajectory here is not well. And I did not find anything in year three that, anything that we should, look at. So, but I did find, because I was curious myself about that year two, where did they come from year two? And sometimes I was seeing that people were surprised in year three. It's like they look back, yeah, they got lucky last year, but they crapped the bed the first year. And so you might get a little bit more of a bargain, and that's probably, I need to do some more research on that, Dennis. Probably more for Dynasty, and I don't really pay attention, my work for Dynasty, but I think there is something to be said for that when, and people can find that lesson. I don't even remember. I've done 400 or 500 videos, and I forget, Dennis, when the hell it was. But
But but that's
that's what
even
I
valuable.
found.
That's even valuable in best ball and redraft, though, because if you know who the bargains are, who the
Yeah,
guys that are
yeah,
likely to have that big leap forward, and we see it every year. Like it was Nico Collins. a couple of
Yes,
years
you and
ago.
I were all over him.
All over him. And he did his part. I mean, he looked
Hmm.
great. Then you get guys like
Sun
Godwin who
God.
come
I
back.
remember you
Sun
and I
God.
were
Oh,
on the
I was
same. Oh yeah,
oh yeah. Couldn't get enough Sun God his second year. That
yeah,
end of his season,
yeah. I
his
remember
last
it.
6 weeks were just unbelievable. And
Yeah,
you
I
know,
remember that.
people always look to make excuses of why that happened. Look at Trey McBride. Oh, they brought in a wide receiver. He is gonna not do it this year. Oh, really? Could you imagine if he actually scored touchdowns at a normal rate?
Yeah.
The guy, by any measure, is top four right now, and that's
Imagine
without.
Bowers on a stronger team.
Yeah, yeah. So that's
Imagine,
how.
Kelsey retires and then they get Bowers. Goodness, Kansas
Well,
City could
oh,
can roll and roll.
well. Look what's happened with Jonnu Smith, the career journeyman,
Hmm.
and now he goes to a big passing game that understands how to use him. We were all over Jonnu Smith in best ball
Yep.
and in redraft too, but more so in best ball because you draft more than one tight end
Yes.
in
I usually draft
best
three.
ball, and we were all over Ertz.
Yes.
We were all over Jonnu Smith.
Yes.
Those were guys that we were grabbing a lot of. You were big on Kate Otten
Oh yeah.
this year.
In
I
best
agree.
ball. Yeah.
Yep, in best ball, I had a lot of Hunter Henry from New England. Um, those are the kinds of guys that are just bargains that you can get,
Yeah.
real cheap that end up doing well for you. But that same logic is always looking at the upside of players. What is their potential upside? Where could this go if everything clicks? And I think people too often want to look at how the wheels are going to fall off. And in fantasy football, you got to look for that upside. You've got to look at both ends to see what the range of outcomes are and
Yeah.
see, okay, if everything goes well, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And, or if everything goes the wrong way, this is why a guy could get pounded.
Yeah. So I'm looking at my best ball this year. Zach Ertz, 63, 65. Hawkinson, 59.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was by far, those were the two I paired. I would take Ertz and come back and get high. I was almost doing bam bam right
Yeah.
there. And, I've Hawkinson could have done more for me, but, and then I have some in, it's scattered. But, but I'm sitting there looking at my deal. But that was the ones I was all over in the best ball. And I love the FFPC when I can just quickly look and see. Every time Thielen goes off, Dennis, half my best ball teams celebrate. 52% is Thielen there, and Sun God at a third. Uh, so that's helped. Some misses, needless to say, but definitely those people. And I got Thielen cheap.
Oh, yeah.
And for running backs, it was Kamara, Connor, Estime, Gorindo, Dobbins. Those are my top five. And we're talking Kamara 62%, Connor
Wow.
60%. Dennis, that has just done me so much well. Now, with the quarterbacks, I deliberately had 10 that were early quarterback, mid quarterback 10, late
Yes.
quarterback 10,
Yep.
and I'm doing best this year, late quarterback. I've got two winners and about of the 10, two winners and three or four second place teams,
Wow.
and then a bunch of third teams. and I have one winner in the rest. The mid packs and the early uh, just never came together. But so I'm going to continue that again. But I think I might skip the mid and go early or late, but not mid. I may do 15-15, for my next, I did 30 teams. I may do 15 and just to see, but that data is kind of driving me. In other words, I did my worst at the mid pack quarterbacks.
Interesting.
Yeah, so and this is stuff we'll catch up on later. I'm sure most people are saying, I don't want to hear this crap now, Professor.
But
But
we will,
we got
yeah.
so much to do, folks, and it's not a guess. We're not just like, what are we doing? We're the data here is driving what I'm going to do next year in my next test. And
And
that's
you
what we're going to do off season, folks. You can jump on the wagon with us. We don't shut down till August and wake up again by any means. We'll be doing tons of research off season.
will be more active in the off season than
Oh
we are
man.
during the season, which is
Yeah.
the opposite way. But there is so much data. You mentioned Alvin Kamara, who is another running back that I really liked. I'm worried about the injury. Did you see the move that they just made today?
No.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
Oh
who was
my God.
released by Kansas City, has been signed by the New Orleans Saints. I do not like what
No.
that means
And
for.
they put Tony Hall on the practice the day before.
Yeah,
Tony Hall Jr. I mean, not saying that's significant, but just they're stacking the wood behind Kamara because I don't think he's coming back this year. I'm
no, that's
planning on him not playing anymore the next 2 weeks.
now that's sad to see because he has been so good with
If it
such
wasn't for
bad.
Connor and Henry
Oh,
and Mixon, boy, those guys with Kamara really kept me going this year.
yeah, just like our draft night out team right now, based on my consensus ratings, we got Derrick Henry
Mm-hmm.
at 4, we
Yeah,
got Mixon at 8,
yeah.
Chase Brown at 9, and James Conner at 12. How about a team
We were
12?
all over Mixon, Henry, Connor, and you loved Chase Brown. You were
Oh,
pulling my arm to take him, and I'm just like, I don't know much about him. Isn't he a rookie? Is he a
he's
rookie?
second year, but he
Second
didn't
year
play
guy.
much last year. He got
Yeah.
hurt
So
in the
I was
preseason.
kind of neutral on him, and your strength aided that. We definitely needed that.
My two favorite guys, because remember we spoke all off season. Who's the next Kyron Williams?
Yes, I asked you that.
And there were two guys that I mentioned more than anybody else:
Yes,
Chase Brown,
yes,
Bucky Irving.
yes,
My third guy was Estime from
yes.
Denver, and he
Um,
hasn't panned out. But I'll hit if I can get 2 out of 3 hits like that
yeah.
every year, I would be cashing lots of fantasy football gold.
So,
What a
so is Miller? Is that the choice for everybody on waivers? I'm assuming they're going
Yeah,
for
I think
Miller,
Kendra Miller is the choice, but remember he hasn't been healthy all season
and
either.
they're
So,
playing Green Bay in the frozen tundra. I
yeah,
just,
I'm worried about that matchup. It won't be
yeah,
there
it'll be a
won't be a
squirrel game. I bet you.
it's not a 100% replacement value for
No,
Kamara. It's more like a 60%
no,
of Kamara's value. Um, don't know how to read that. There's the threat of snow Monday.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm not.
too
I'm
far
not.
away to be a good forecast, but
Yeah,
it's not. That's not going to be a prime
yeah,
spot. That Packers defense looks really
yeah.
good
I
lately.
am riding Dennis. I'm riding Atlanta this week and Green Bay for uh, our streaming D's. So I forgot which one we have
We
in our
have Green Bay
dynasty.
right now,
In
and I'm
dynasty.
Yeah, I'm tempted to keep them in there this week.
Yeah, that's why I haven't suggested anything because I'm
Yeah,
riding with them
I like
myself.
yeah, I like that because I kind of like
I mean,
their
if I was doing it, Cincinnati and Atlanta seem to be lined up pretty good this week. But I think Green Bay, because a lot of the DAP data was with, New Orleans having Carr. And I
oh
think,
yeah, yeah.
I think that change. I mean, if you got and we need to do this, another one of these research. In other words, how much does the quarterback aid the defense? In other words, if
Oh
the
yeah.
quarterback is just giving the ball back, the defense is going to wear down at some. I don't care how good you are, and your DAPs are going to look not as strong. And that's why I'm a little bit worried about the New Orleans D. I'm definitely not playing them for sure this week, but I'm just worried that my whole read on them is just, I don't know, Spencer Rattler or Haney or whoever it is. I don't know, whoever they sign. I'm
it
not
it could
I'm
it,
not pleased.
now it could be ugly, and there's three quarterback change situations going on because New Orleans will not start Hayner again. So
So
they'll
it'll be
go with
Spencer.
Radler. Atlanta switching to the rookie.
What do you think
Um,
about that? They're only a game or two out. If they
yeah,
if they won out and Tampa Bay stumbled in a
yeah.
game or two, can Penix take them far in the play? I just don't know a lot about him.
Kirk Cousins has looked so bad. And I think that's driving force more than, oh, we think Penix is ready to light it up. They're just so frustrated with Kirk Cousins right now, and for
You
good
think that's
reason.
just age? What happened?
Well, he's coming back from the Achilles injury,
You think
and
you think that's got him?
yeah, he's not looking good. He just doesn't have any mobility whatsoever.
You
Um,
think he
and
just wore down?
I think this might be it. Like
Yeah.
I saw signs 2 years ago, not last year, because first 7, 8 games before he got hurt last year, he was on a hell of a pace.
Hmm.
He was lighting it up. He was helping me win a lot of games in
Yeah.
fantasy football. But 2 years ago, there were some signs that maybe this guy is starting to age.
Hmm.
And then last year, erased all that, but has not looked like the same guy. Will Levis is gone from Tennessee. Rudolph actually played pretty good in reserve,
Hmm.
so he'll be in there. Jameis Winston has been pulled by Cleveland, which surprises me
Yeah.
quite a bit. Um, you know, here's the thing I'll say: fantasy football and real football
Yeah.
are very different.
Yeah.
But Jameis Winston rated now right now is my QB 12 using my
Can
consensus
you
ratings.
imagine having Jerry Judy have
Oh,
carried you so far, then all of a sudden the rug's pulled out from under you?
yeah, and you're pulling him not for like Atlanta's
Yeah.
situation, there's upside because the rookie could be really good.
Hmm.
Okay, he could do better than Bo Nix, and Bo Nix has been fine.
Hmm.
Or he could be crash and burn. With Cleveland, we
Hmm.
saw what DRT looks like out there.
Hmm.
He is a great running quarterback. He is not going to be a threat to pass the ball. And I jokingly said on X, are they going to run the old wishbone offense? Are they going to run an option offense? I just don't know. That move makes no sense. And I understand that Jameis Winston has turned the ball over a lot in the last 2 weeks. But you're not changing him out for like Tennessee. It makes sense. Mason Rudolph has not been bad. He's not been great, but he's not been bad. And Will Levis has been bad. There's a move that makes sense. Atlanta makes sense to me. take a shot at the rookie, find out what he's got. Then you can maybe get rid of Cousins next year. Maybe somebody else is desperate. Maybe the
He signed a
Jets.
good contract,
He
Cousins
signed a
did.
big contract, and it's going to kill him on the cap hit. For the next couple of years if they're not able to deal him, and even next year it's going to hurt their cap hit a
But
little bit.
if I'm Cousins, I'm thinking, fine, I'll just
Yeah,
sit back.
yeah, take my money, don't get hit. But lots of changes at the quarterback position. It is going to be very interesting. I'm in most of those cases,
Yeah.
if I can avoid those situations, I'm probably avoiding them because there's just too much uncertainty. I don't have a lot of Tennessee
Yeah.
as far as wide receivers. I got a little bit of Pollard. He is banged up. I had some Ty Spears that I put in to a few dynasty lineups last week. He did really well. Um, but Cleveland, I've got some Jerry Judy. I'm not sure what to do with them. But
Yeah.
very interesting. I just don't know what can be done with some of those situations. So gonna have to take a good hard look. And I'm not even certain yet. But been worried about Thursday night and Saturday's games. I haven't gotten to some of the Sunday slate yet.
Yeah. We thought we'd cover the Saturday uh with the Thursday today. So I got the three games, the DAPS, the Vegas, the uncertainty, the rankings, power rankings, efficiency. Got the usual suspects here, Dennis. Let's see. Top team this week, Detroit, and not they're not close. Look at that. They're just sitting by themselves out there. Worst team is New Orleans, Dennis.
Oh boy,
Yeah, yeah. Washington is not perky this week.
they looked
But
bad last week.
yeah, Giants, I think they're going with Drew Lock. Cleveland,
The quarterback roulette over there with the
yeah.
Giants.
Pittsburgh, even Denver is gonna. There's some issues there. So
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. Minnesota, Atlanta, San Francisco, Philly, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Cincinnati are all in the green, all strong. To be considered this week with the matchups here. I mean, I think it's more the extremes. I'm not really worried about the mid teams. It's the extremes I'm really liking. If I'm doing any money line betting, I'm looking hard towards the green, away from the red. And last week, Dennis, I hit a lot of my money line picks, and you and I had a betting discussion. I thought we'd bring it up here, and
Yeah.
you slapped my head around, and I realized you had the right way to look at it. And I'm trying to pull it up on my app here, but uh, the way you framed it, you know, was the way to frame it. That's why I really like when hearing your feedback has really made me stronger because you think about things differently than I do, and boy, when we're both on that same vibe, I think we're really unstoppable. I'm really, our draft night out and some of our other things, that's been really good. But anyway, Dennis, here was the bet, and I had nine picks. I for last week, I picked Baltimore, Cincinnati, KC, the Jets, Washington, Denver, Arizona, Philly. So I hit all eight of those nine. And then the Sunday or the Monday game was Minnesota. And what the app let me do, I was going to get $30 if Minnesota won, but I could cash out for 21, and I bet $2. So and then you said, well, you're betting 21, which you got now. All you have to do is hit a button. I'll cash out to get nine more dollars. And I started thinking in the horse racing, I hate to gamble dollars to win pennies. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
my philosophy. And, that's like betting on what is that, a 3 to 5 shot or a
Oh yeah.
2 to 3?
Yeah.
No. Why am I betting $20 to win nine? I want to bet nine to win 20. I want to flip the script. So, and I really thought about Dutching because if I would have taken $5 and bet on Chicago, I would have won about 18. So, uh, and 30 minus 5 is 25. So the worst I could have done is 18. The best I could have done was 25 if I Dutched it, Dennis. And I was
Yeah.
getting 21 for sure. So I'm like, I'm losing $6 even in Chicago. I couldn't figure out how to make it make sense. So I listened to you, I cashed out, and yes, I have not done those big ass parlays, but 2 or 3 times this. I've been playing, just learning the terminology and how to bet sports betting. But yeah, I had a good run, hitting basically 9 picks in a row. That was pretty good parlay there.
Yeah. And it just shows that your power ranking and logic will work
Yes,
when combined. And that's the
but the
key.
betting side, did this is what I'm still having to educate because nobody ever taught me any of that because I didn't grow up with bookies. I should have.
Yeah, and
If I
and
have, if I have karma, Dennis, and I get reborn, it's either going to be my dad's a horse trainer, or I'm a bookie. I need some more learning in my next life.
yeah, that's a good strategy there.
Yeah,
It's
I'm gonna ask
we're
the big man.
we're we're gonna
When I
be
get the choice.
we're gonna be degenerate betters in some way, shape,
Yeah,
or form
right.
because horse trainer is the ultimate
Yeah,
degenerate
yeah,
gambler because
yeah,
although that business I learned a lot when my dad owned the harness horse.
yeah,
I learned some of the shenanigans that some of those trainers play,
yeah.
getting kickbacks from the vets and stuff. Now I understood. Maybe that was just a Crook County thing where I grew up
Yeah.
and the horse tracks where I was going, but uh, maybe they learned it from the politicians. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway, Thursday night should
Yeah.
be a very
But anyway,
interesting
thanks to you
battle.
on the betting logic. And I found that you have the Vulcan side of your brain kicks in. And I really appreciate that. So
Well,
I give you
and
an
I
attaboy. And at the expo, I'll buy you some orange juice at our Denny's hangout.
oh yeah.
We'll see if we can't get thrown out again. Dennis and I got thrown out like we made such a ruckus at the Denny's. The
Oh,
waitress was all mad at us,
troublemakers.
and
Troublemakers.
we were trouble. And maybe we can find some more troublemakers and have a big powwow of all sorts of trouble folks to come have breakfast with us. We
Yeah,
need to do that.
and I think that's a great idea. Yeah, and my logic to you on that bet
Yeah,
was, yeah, I think Minnesota's going to win.
I
So
thought they were too.
I think you're safe to go for it, but you've you never lose in gambling by taking a profit. Like
No,
when you play. I remember years ago, I was going out to Reno for a scientific get together with another weather forecaster. And I thought, well, I'm out in Reno. I might as well play some in the casino, the night before, have a little fun. So I took out like $100. I figured if I lose the 100,
it's
so
time to
be it.
go home.
It's no big deal. If I lose the 100, I'm done for the night. I'm not going into to the ATM and being like the guy in Vegas Vacation. I'm not not betting the mortgage on stuff, but $100 I can afford to lose. That's all I'm going to play with. So I played a progressive betting scheme in roulette. I won $160, and I said, okay, I'm going to take 120 profit. Okay. Plus my 100 that I came with. So I'm going home with 210 or 220 after coming with 100. And I took that other $40 and I just had a ball. I was just playing all kinds of numbers on a whim. And I won for a while. I lost. I won. I had up and down, and finally ended up giving most of it back. But had fun, for another hour or so. But the key is if you stay to a sensible system in betting and always take your profit, take the other money, take some of your profit and have fun with it. Understanding you might gamble it back, trying to go for the big money, but always play with your profits, but never give all the profits away. Take some of your profits home with you and you'll be very, very happy. So let's take a look at the first set of games this weekend, because we've got Thursday night and then we got Saturday games. This is going to be a crazy weekend.
Yeah, Chargers, Denver.
Ugh.
Vegas says 23-18, 2.5. They're in Chargers are at home, so basically home field. 42. So it's a squirrely type level. I consider anything below 42 kind of be lean. I mean, we've seen worse. We've seen in the 30s, but 42. Denver, it's all about the pass, Dennis. So it's going to be Bo Nix passing left, passing right. Courtland Sutton, oh yes, I didn't have enough of him this year. I
Oh, me neither.
really did not see how, I mean, I don't know what he is in your rankings, but he's got to be a solid WR3 flex each week for me. I
Yeah.
think in
Yeah.
the few league, I don't have him in enough. I think I got him in 2 of my 12 active, and I wish I had him in 10 of my 12. Right, so he's money in the bank in your flex. These DAPs say that. Uh, Running Javante and whoever else, they're gonna have to earn that. They'll get some shots, but I think it's all passing from Bo Nix. Chargers, on the other hand, look to me like they're the more dynamic. They can rush, they can pass all day long, and I think they'll being dynamic like that based on these dApps. I think that gives them, their home field advantage. They're more dynamic. They're not going to be just one pace like Denver's going to have to be. So I see Denver, just like Bo Nix could get you some yards. I don't know if they'll get touchdowns, but depending on how you got there, I would think in Superflex for sure Bo Nix is a starter. And one quarterback probably got somebody better, but if not, I think you could go worse with Bo Nix and whatnot. Denver is improving. I will say that. Uh, their efficiency is 127. That's my mistake. It should be 1.27. It should be 127. Top of the week, top of the efficiency. They just been tearing it up. But they love home, Dennis. 91% better
Wow.
at home. So I'm a little worried about the away split. Away, they want to rush. Pass about the same, but they want to rush more away, and that's not what the DAPs are going to give them. Chargers, uh, home, they're balanced, just like the DAPs are saying. So they're favored by the DAPs. They're favored by the balance. It looks pretty strong for the Chargers. I think I'd play them all. McConkey should feast, and maybe even Quentin Johnson uh, could be a deep flex play this week. I don't know about The tight end, though, is a little tough. Definitely the kickers. I wouldn't play the D's, though.
Yeah, and that's good analysis. Bo Nix is 14th in my consensus ratings.
So
Cortland
right
Sutton,
there on the edge, I could
yeah.
see, if you had some, if you had Winston, let's just say, Bo Nix would be a great replacement for him.
Oh yeah, and Cortland Sutton is 27th, but this year alone, more like 22nd. So he's a solid WR2. And, he's had some off weeks, which is why he grades a little bit lower. But, he's got a best index of 12, which is 18th best.
That's
So
nice.
that's nice and strong. That's a solid WR2 guy kind of guy. Neither of these teams, since Dobbins has gone down,
Hmm.
Chargers aren't running the ball worth a diddly.
Well, they got
So
an opportunity.
they got an opportunity, but I don't think they got the players to get it done
Who's their
because,
players now? I
well,
forgot.
it's Gus Edwards, it's Kimani Vidal, and it would be Haskins, but they don't seem to be playing him. So, and Haskins is always active because he plays really good on special teams,
Yeah.
but it's going to be, it's Gus and Vidal that are splitting the touches, and neither one is doing all that great. So I'm thinking this is going to be a pass heavy game by both teams because
Well, that would go against the over under then.
it's going to go over. I think this is an over. The only thing that's got me concerned is that it's Thursday night, short week for both teams,
I hate Thursday
and
night.
McConkey coming back on a short week.
Kind of gimpy,
Been
wasn't he?
fighting an injury, but he's 23rd in my rankings, so he's a solid play as well. Love the wide receivers here. I wouldn't be afraid to tee up by Quentin Johnson
What about
from
the
the Chargers.
Denver guy, Velda or
De-
Belay?
Denver just Cortland Sutton.
Okay.
Everything else has been split too much between
Okay.
Franklin, Devon Vale,
Vale.
and Mims has been getting used as like a little, you know, sort of hybrid, doing
Hmm.
some runs, doing some passes, but not enough volume
Gotcha.
and not enough talent, I don't think, to really guarantee he's going to hit the board.
Yeah.
But I do like I I'm lukewarm on taking the Chargers minus 2.5, only
Yeah.
because it's home. Better bet in this game is the over.
Over. So you think the Chargers win, or you don't know?
Yeah, I think the Chargers win, but it's close. 2.5's a good point spread. I think it's a one
So
score game.
one might set up a parlay of an over Sutton, McConkey, anytime touchdown. You could probably get you 3, 4 to 1
Ooh,
on that.
I think you could get some good odds on that. I like that play.
Yeah, I might consider that. It's a little $2 holler. Dennis, I got $2. It just burns a hole in my pocket, and I just want to play it. So I might do some. I don't know yet. Or I might just take the Chargers and maybe, do the other two Saturday, kind of a mini kind of parlay with those two. I gotta think about that. So okay, next game is Houston, KC. This I will say the over under early in the week was 39,
Oh
and I
wow.
think it's 41 and a half now. They think Houston beats KC, but I think that's because they don't think Mahomes is playing, right? I mean, that's got to be it. KC's at home and Houston's road favorite.
Yeah,
Uh,
it doesn't make sense to me. I've
am
got
I
the line
right? I
going.
mean, is that what the
Yeah,
latest odds are?
I'm showing the line going the other way by 3.5 now to Kansas City, but
Did they?
that might have been revised after it
Did
after full practice yesterday for Mahomes.
yeah? I'm wondering. Uh, yeah, I need to let me look at the odds real quick because I'll. So right now, Holmes plays. You would think it would flip the other way. What I'm confused about is the 41. Uh, that just seems kind of low, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it opened before the Mahomes injury.
Yeah.
Okay, so the line that was out Sunday before he got hurt.
Yeah.
47.5 was the original over under on this game, and it came way down
Yeah.
when they thought he wasn't playing. It dipped down under 40. Now it's 42 today is what I'm
So it's
showing.
gone up well, Dennis, this shows me you're right. It has flipped. It has completely flipped from when I did this. I may have misread this. Yeah, KC is the 3-point
I,
favorite here.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was briefly the other way, because
And
if
it is
Mahomes,
42 now.
yeah,
Yep.
now it's 42, and it had dipped down low. I know that, and now it's
Yeah.
back up. This has been an 8.5 point from the lowest to the highest on the over under. I
Yeah.
don't know if I've ever seen that big of a change in 1 week.
Okay. That is wild. So anyway, Houston, see, it shows KC is going to shut down Mixon extra
Yeah,
tough, and that's bad
yeah,
for us. And
bad
it
for
looks
us.
like the wide receivers and Schultz may have an opportunity. I wouldn't play the defenses there. KC should all about the pass. Kelsey has an opportunity, but looks like the
Hopkins,
running looks like another pass happy kind of situation. Houston is improving though, Dennis. KC's about mid pack. KC at home likes to pass 10% more than away, and they rush a little less. Houston on the road loves to rush 13%, passes 11% less, exactly opposite. So, again, I do want to chart this after the season. Just in general, the question is when the DAPs are going against what the tendency are, what what's the situation? Where does it kind of break? In other words, in this situation, does the tendency hold or do the DAPs influence more? I'm not quite sure I test all this, but I that's another. I got so many. I need some interns. I got so many good ideas here, Dennis. I would love to
and
see that.
and here's one thing: it should be a pretty quiet weather day.
Nice.
It's going to be very breezy there tomorrow, Thursday,
Uh,
so I'm glad this isn't on Thursday. But by the time Saturday rolls around, it's going to be a pretty good day for the winter there in KC, and an early start with the noon start Central Time or local time there. We're looking at probably 36 to 38
oh,
degrees at
that's
game time.
brisk. That'll get them
It's
going.
it's brisk, but it's not bad for this time of the year. That means that we don't need to have Taylor Swift all up in the parka and the skiing clothes. She can wear more of her normal clothes. Now that Mahomes has been bent in half and has sustained the Super Bowl winning high ankle sprain. Look at the data, Professor. I know it's only a few points, but there's only a few data points. But every year that the Chiefs have won the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah.
he has had a high ankle sprain or a knee injury during the year. The year that they got blown out by Tampa, he was healthy for the Super Bowl,
There
right
you
into the
go.
Super Bowl.
Well,
So
he needs some pained pushing.
he needs pain. He's been, he's gimped up. He was folded in half. So
Probably a
yeah,
little
he's
chippy, a little
oh
mad.
yeah, he gets, Kermit the Frog, gets angry
Yeah.
when you step on his little flippers there. So
Yeah,
I
it
think
definitely has flippers.
I think he's ready to come back, and
Okay. Okay.
as he always says before he calls the signal. So, but
That's
it's
good.
it's a good game for the Chiefs. I think they're going to win this one handily. I think they're going to win this by 10 points.
You think the
Um,
over under is
I
low?
think the over under is way too low on this.
Sounds
I
like
think
we
it's going
got
to be an over game.
two overs in your parlays there.
Yeah, I think that's a good play. I would say we're looking probably at a 28-18 score here, somewhere around 28-17, something like that. So we're looking at a good, healthy win for my Chiefs, and a good, at least 5 over the over under. So I'm feeling pretty confident about the over on the Texans and
Yeah.
the Chiefs. And
Okay.
so the last game on Saturday, and of course we'll
Got
handicap Sunday and Monday night when we do
Saturday
our show
morning.
Saturday
Yeah.
morning.
Baltimore, Pittsburgh, 28-16,
Ooh,
-6, over under 45.
ooh,
So they got Baltimore spanking Pittsburgh, disrespecting Pittsburgh. Vegas is
oh,
a touchdown.
oh,
Uh, and the metrics say King Henry needs, Dennis, not should or would, needs about 2 scores for our teams. Okay. So if I need to call him up, I need to say, King, we need your crown cemented on you today, and I need 2 scores from you. Uh, I think quarterback's extra tough, but Pittsburgh ain't run across this kind of quarterback. He can
oh,
he
yeah.
can shake, rattle, and roll there. So uh, you might play Baltimore's D. There is, streamable. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, nothing really scares me. Yet I would not play the Pittsburgh D at all.
No, 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 no.
So looks like Pittsburgh should be a little bit more dynamic. I just don't think. I'm not sure they can keep up with Baltimore. Baltimore 55. Uh, Pittsburgh's improving though, Dennis. 98. That's pretty damn good. Pittsburgh's away, and they tend to rush more, +8, pass less, -6. Baltimore at home is more rush, less pass, exactly what the Daps are doing. So I would put this as with the Daps, right? That's how I'm probably going to chart these games in Pittsburgh uh, with the Daps. So nothing is standing in the way of either one of these teams doing well. So is that 45 in jeopardy? Is that still too low?
So this is a game where, you know, so here's how I do my handicapping.
Okay.
Okay. When I look at the depths, I think of how the game script might go. And that often leads me to the decision on which team I'm going with on the point spread and which way I'm going on the over under.
Right.
When I look at the depths, when I look at recent games by both teams, I look at the fact that Baltimore is typically pretty tough at home. And your numbers suggest that as well.
Yep.
When I look at all this data, I see 2 competing game scripts. One in which it's an offensive juggernaut of a game where even though both defenses are supposedly tough, although Baltimore's defense is not this year. So I look at this game and I see 2 possible scripts. I see the script where the Steelers just mucked this game up by just trying to control the ball. Maybe it's a short passing game. I don't know, but they try to just control the ball. And they manage to muck the game up so it's a lower scoring game and they can win in that scenario. If it gets into an offensive shootout and they go over this 45, the Ravens are more likely to win. But I'm not sure which game script goes here. Weather-wise, it's going to be fine again. So a little chilly by Baltimore standards this time of the year, probably game time temperature around 35, falling into the low 30s by the end of the game. but that's not cold enough to affect either team. There's not going to be a lot of wind, no precipitation. So I'm on competing versions of this, and I'm going to say the Steelers muck this game up and they pull off the upset. They're plus 235 on the money line. That's tempting enough to take a shot at it because I think the teams are closer than 2-1 odds. But the game doesn't necessarily have to be within 6 points. Like it could be either team winning by 10 would not shock me in here, depending on who gets on the roll. But I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to take the Steelers on the money line. I'm not sure I'd bet either of those or the point spread with your money. I'm not as confident
So you don't
on this
know
game.
who's going to win.
I don't know who's going to win, but again, if it's under, which one of my game scripts says, yeah, it could be under, then I favor Pittsburgh to win. If it goes over the 45, then Baltimore's going to win in a shootout with Lamar Jackson being his MVP self and putting up 40 fantasy points. But I could see the game going either way. I'm very interested to see if George Pickens will be back because this is the kind of defense that Pickens could eat alive. But I'm not sure he's going to be healthy enough to play. So that might be a game time decision as well of figuring out which way this game is going to go. But I'd put Pickens in if he's healthy. Yep. If he doesn't play, there's nobody I really like on Pittsburgh.
Calvin?
Maybe, but even then, he's so erratic. He's so erratic. Maybe a deep flex, but I hope I got a better decision. I'll play Pickens. I'll play Zay Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
I'll play Derrick Henry and let Derrick Henry have a 120-yard and 3 touchdown game, and I'll be very happy.
Man, I can't. You know, I need to call Kelsey and Henry and get a conference call with them. Okay. And Mahomes, he can be in the background playing with his frog puppet or whatever he's doing. And then we'll have Taylor's music going. And we need to have a strong discussion. I don't know what the script is. Probably first thing I need to do is look at the Kansas City script, see what the refs are going to do for us.
Oh, they're going to give us at least 10 points.
Yeah, so I got to figure all that out.
Refs are good for plus 10.
You know, they got to slap me on my head with the script. You know, and once I figure all that out, then I'll let you know what I find out. You know, my operatives will be digging up the script because, you know, it's all scripted and it's like wrestling. You know, it's all done.
I think Vince McMahon is a consultant for the NFL when it comes to the Chiefs.
I think so. I think we're going. Okay, well, Dennis, I think we hit it as hard as we're going to hit. I don't think there's what I heard from all 3 of these games is we did not really say step out any kind of extreme players, right? On these 3 games. No. I didn't hear.
No.
Okay. Some gambling, hey, $2, get extreme, right? You know, go for it. But as far as fantasy football, I didn't hear anything that I thought, hey, I need to do something really extreme. In other words, I didn't hear any cute going off in my head saying, you know, I like Devonta Smith. I'm not going to get cute again, Dennis. That was last week. We done that.
No, we're not making that. We're not making that same mistake again.
So I didn't hear anything extreme on any of these games to tell me I need to stretch anything at this point. In other words, with KC, you know, I always think, well, what about Hopkins and whatnot? You know, I'm not feeling like I want to stretch.
I might save my money for Sunday's slate.
That's
in this
what I'm
case.
thinking.
I think that might be a safe bet here.
Yeah. And one more thing before we go, I was going to bring this up earlier. So, Dennis, you're stirring the pot with fantasy receipts and you're getting people all stirred. What are you doing on Twitter? We got research to do, young man. Quit getting cute on
Yeah.
Twitter.
So I was sitting at the office today,
Okay, I see. You
and
were bored.
and I was waiting for another Christmas song to end before I had to talk.
Mirage Alone for
It
Christmas.
it was, yeah, well, it was You're a Mean One,
Oh,
Mr.
Mr.
Grinch.
Grinch. Oh, I
Yeah,
like that.
so
Yeah.
so I love that song. So I was playing that one, enjoying it. The next song that came on, I don't even remember what it was because it
Yeah.
wasn't as good. And I was sitting there, and I saw Fantasy Receipts cooking this guy
Yeah.
because he said, and I remember when he said this and actually criticized it when he said it,
Okay.
that he said something about, there is Ezekiel Elliott's going to score more fantasy points than Rico Dowdle. And if that doesn't happen, I'm going to buy the time machine from some stupid movie and go back in time and get all my Rico shares. I mean, he's doing really just saying idiotic things. And I remember at the time I asked him, based on what data? And I never got a response.
Mm-hmm.
Because was it possible Rico Dowdle could score less points than Ezekiel Elliott? Yeah, it's possible. Rico Dowdle was not wowing me. But during the preseason, I said, if nobody else emerges other than Ezekiel Elliott, I kind of like Rico Dowdle being the default. I don't know how great that's going to be. I don't think the default's going to be serious value,
Mm-hmm.
but volume is key. And they didn't have anything. That's why when Dalvin Cook was signed, I picked him up because I didn't have faith in Rico Dowdle, but I had faith in Rico Dowdle beating Ezekiel Elliott. Like there was no data that you could look at from late last season and say, there's no way that Rico Dowdle is going to outscore Ezekiel Elliott. It was that, to me, there are some statements made, unless you back them up with data. If you're just making these blanket statements without having data, if there's data, I may disagree with how you're using the data, but I'll at least applaud you for having an opinion based on data. But if you make a blatant statement like that with no data to back you up, and there is no data to back that up, that opinion is totally devoid of any use of 2023 data. That's fantasy malpractice as a fantasy football analyst. And I remember calling him out for it at the time.
Yeah.
And when I saw Fantasy Receipts revisiting it, I'm like, this is great. This guy deserves roasting, because if you are putting nonsense like that out into the universe without data, if you have data to back it up, I still might disagree with your opinion. Like Frank Amarante, who was brought up later in that conversation. He's a guy that I will sometimes question his choice of data. But I will never say, oh, this is idiotic. I will say, what do you think about if this doesn't happen? What do you think about this? Or I will point out the shortness of his data set. And he'll always respond, yeah, it's, there's only 12 games, but that's all we had. That's the only, so yeah, limited data, but this is the best data we've got. He's always backing his statement up with something. Even a cherry-picked stat is better than no stats at all. At least give me something. And that's when I see Fantasy Receipts roast somebody when they are making idiotic statements with no data to support them. Those are noisemakers. Those are not fantasy football analysts. Those are noisemakers. Congratulations on being a noisemaker. That ain't getting you anywhere in the fantasy football world. your job if you're going to call yourself a fantasy football analyst, have some data to back yourself up. That to me, those are the kinds of things that I see, and I just shake my head. I'm like, here we go again. And do they occasionally hit? Yes, they do. But those are the 2%ers that are hitting on noisemaker statements like that.
Okay.
If it was 2019, then you got the data to back you up. Going into 2024, you did not have data to back up saying Ezekiel Elliott is going to, I guarantee he's going to be better than Rico Dowdle, score more points. And I think in the response I made to him was, well, if Rico Dowdle gets hurt, I guess that could happen. That was the only way that range of outcomes was going to verify. But in weekly values, Rico Dowdle was going to be better than Ezekiel Elliott, and it wasn't even going to be close.
Yeah. Okay. I just checking.
I do get fired up at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oh, by the way, Professor, by the way, right now, Ezekiel Elliott, 49th ranked out of 51 at running back.
Yeah.
And Rico Dowdle, not great, 27th. That's a flex play, though.
Yeah. But I can use flex plays this week.
But I will tell you this.
Oh.
He was 45th in ADP. He's 27th. Right now, Travis Etienne is 26th.
Yeah.
He was an ADP of RB7.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Dowdle at the cost.
Yeah, I didn't draft ETN this year, so
ooh, I was off the ETN bandwagon this year.
I did not draft him. So, and one thing that I noticed on just kind of full circle going away from the Dennis, the back half of my 40 teams I drafted, almost all my quarterfinals are in the back half. It's this data. It's like whatever, it takes me half of my drafting to get right to where I'm just tearing it up. I mean, if I could have just skipped the first 20, just jumped in, I'd be just killing it. I'd be telling you 12 out of 20. I mean, it's just crazy. And I even delayed till after the expo to start drafting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't understand what's going on. So I gotta do some more thinking here. I don't, but having the draft night out, that was really good because I think having the pressure and having our cheat sheet that we made, our secret stuff that we weren't going to let Tip look at. Tip's eyes were on a stalk. Did you see look like Mr. Krabs? MO eyes were looking at our. Tip's got them eyes looking down at our secret stuff, and we're going to have a fake secret stuff with Tip next year, and we'll have to put up top. Tip Majors, you cannot read this, and point big letters and big stars. That'll get his attention, won't it?
Yeah, the most fun part of that league was the fact that we were getting Snickers.
Yeah.
At the table. Now, nobody came out and said it. Oh, that's a bad pick. But we got Snickers when we went back to back with Derrick Henry and Travis Kelce, and we got snickered. And we have had the last laugh. Even with Kelce having a down year, we could still have him go off here in the last 2 weeks. But our running back core,
Mixon, Connor, and Chase
Henry,
Brown.
Henry.
Man, that's been murderer's road, Dennis.
So much for the 0 RB is a winning strategy.
And you and I didn't really focus.
It was best player available.
Mm-hmm.
We just thought about who is the best player available. And I remember when we took Chase Brown, I said, well, we're deep at running back, but I like this guy. And this is the value right here. I mean, there were some picks where I was a little wishy-washy on him.
Yeah.
And it was our discussion that narrowed down the right player.
Right.
Could you imagine if we had a healthy Chris Godwin right now?
Yeah. Can you imagine having him? Man,
Oof.
we'd be
And
unstoppable.
if Jaden Reed had not slowed down.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
we were at one time, Professor, we had 4 of the top 14 running backs.
Yep.
We had 2 of the top 10 wide receivers because
Yeah.
Jaden Reed high point was 10th
Yeah.
in my rankings.
Yeah.
Unbelievable
Yeah.
draft that we had. And, losing Godwin hurt, but we've been resilient. We didn't worry about bye weeks.
Yeah.
We patched and filled when we needed to. And that's been the key, is just being smart in how we attack that team. But having those 4 core running backs like that has been
Been a good
huge.
year for the having
And,
running backs.
and that's part of the better than zero philosophy, though. You don't worry about, I don't care if I've got a lot of running backs, early in the draft, but I'm going to end with a lot of running backs on my roster. And that strategy is won across every format for me again this year. We need to talk more about and do more research on roster construction.
Yeah, we do.
In the off season, but I'm feeling really good about our chances going into draft night out. We are favored in the matchup, which we hate being favored.
Yeah.
Because we know the projections are not always
Or
all
wonky.
that great.
Yeah.
But we got green on the screen, so I'm not going to complain, because whenever we've had green on the screen this year in that league, we have won the game. So we're only a 5-point favorite according to Sleeper. So I'm feeling pretty good. They got Lamar Jackson though.
Yeah. And that could go any which way.
It could go either way. They got Brock Bowers and they got Jonnu Smith. So
I like both
and they got
those
Trey
tight ends.
McBride. That's a tight end heavy lineup.
Yeah. And
So
they can all do well, or they could, there's some variation there. There's some floor ceiling issues on Jonnu
and it's not a tight end premium league.
yeah.
So, having 3 tight ends is an interesting strategy. It's worked for them.
Yep.
But I'm not scared. I think we're looking pretty good going into this lineup. It'll be interesting to see how we do.
Well, it sounds like we'll have a good idea on the Baltimore game. If Henry comes
Yeah.
through and we keep up with Lamar, then that probably is good for us.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate assessment there.
Yeah.
And just a matter of which direction we want to go. We haven't decided on defense yet. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, secret
before
stuff.
we get to Sunday. But
yeah,
but a lot of fun. Final Four in fantasy football. That shows how good you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, from this point on, this is where a little bit more luck starts coming into play. Who has the big game this week? And you're starting your studs, so it's not like you're going to be playing some player who's 65th ranked and putting him into your starting lineup for this kind of a league. You're playing your top dogs, and there will be very few big lineup decisions made this time of the year if injuries aren't a factor. So yes, this is where a little bit of luck does come into play.
And before you do your sign off, it just hit me that for our Sunday discussion, we probably should highlight where there might be some stretching for some, secret players, because I think these 3 games, I didn't hear any kind of, stretching. We should reach out and get a little cute. In other words, the cuteness factor I didn't hear. So I'm just wondering on Sunday, because I hadn't talked to you about it. We usually don't, folks. We don't. This is all unscripted. And so if I can remember, Dennis, I'll ask you, one of our Squirrel Huskies, is there anybody that is cute for us? And then we'll have that discussion. See, my dog's getting interested now. Anyway, you can sign off. My
I
dog's ready to
I
go
think
walk.
that is a great strategy. So come on back here next Saturday, but head on over to the scienceoffantasyfootball.com. Check out all the data. I've got some articles that are going to drop so quick that the editor is going to be screaming at me for putting them all out at the same time. But those will be coming up. You should have access to those before you have to make your decisions on the weekend, and head on back here Saturday for another edition of the Science of Fantasy Football.
Get to work, folks. No cuteness allowed. That's funny, wasn't it?
I like that.
Yeah,
That is
okay.
good.
I'm gonna